Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
Happy anniversary again.
I know. Happy anniversary again. I know. I can't believe it. It feels like it's been a long time, but it's crazy that it's been a long time. But we're a COVID podcast.
A little bit, yeah. We kind of started at the tail end, yeah. I can't believe it's been 5 years since COVID. It's such a blur.
I know. I can't. It's crazy just to even think about it. And it's funny because so much has changed over the years as far as just, I work from home now, and that's a normal thing. And I'm recording with you wearing pajamas, and that's a normal thing. But yeah, it's just like, it's been a good 3 years. It's fun because when we have our days off and I have to go pick a podcast, I never pick podcasts from our first year, or if I do, it's at the end of our first year, because I was watching an interview with someone that was talking about podcasting, and he said your first year of podcasting is your worst because you're trying to find your flow in your voice. And I think we found it pretty quickly, but we have so many great interviews.
Yeah.
Actually, when and first of all, we are getting more notes, comments, or what are those, the text messages.
Oh, good.
And I thought I saved them in a place so that I could read them, but I have no idea where I saved them at. And I have no idea what they're called. So I'm going to try and find them as we talk.
Oh, that's awesome. I was wondering if we had gotten any more.
Yeah, we do get them, which is so cool.
I also noticed that somebody updated their Apple review and said they had previously been slightly critical, and they improved their review of us.
Oh, that's nice. I did get a message from someone that said, you guys keep talking about your only male fan, but I want to let you know you have another. So I just want to say, Brian, thank you. Of course, we love you.
Of course.
We appreciate you. And to all of our other male fans, we appreciate you as well. It's not that we don't appreciate our women. It's just that I know for me personally, as a blogger, when I look at my analytics, usually about 90% is women. It's actually gone down to about 75% women because more men are, I don't know. I mean, I think it's because now this is from years ago when I was really starting out with blogging there. And I'm sure they still do this, but someone used to publish an annual kind of like State of the Union of the pet industry. And one of the things that it said is, like, for marketing purposes, was that in the home, you want to market to the women because the women are the ones that make the choices about getting a dog or getting a pet. They're the ones that are researching the food and taking the pet to the vet, and they're making all of those choices. So that's where you want to market your thing to. But I think that what we're seeing now, with more and more people either choosing to stay single longer or choosing to not have children or to have children later on, we're seeing a lot of people that have dogs. I mean, I follow a guy, I don't know his name. I want to say it's Xavier, but I'm pretty sure that I'm making that up. But he has 3 Doberman Pinschers. I was going to say pit bulls, and I was going to say German Shepherds. And I was like, yeah, both of those are wrong. What's funny is because my friend who just lost her pit, Drake, this week, and I know her dog. So she lost Drake. She lost Miley, who was Australian Shepherd, and she had my other friend lost her German Shepherd several years. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I have dogs in my brain right now because I've just been thinking about all these dogs that aren't mine, but I love them so much. And they're like, and so anyway, but he has 3 Doberman Pinschers and they're so cute. I love his video. I live for his videos. There's another man that has, I don't know what his thing is, but it's something like Cactus the Puppy or Cactus the Rescue, where he rescued a dog, named him Cactus. And for the first like month or so that he had the dog, he would do these daily videos of, okay, I'm coming home. Let's see where Cactus is today. Because he had him crate trained. And so at first, Cactus would stay in the crate. Then Cactus started coming out and he would come home and Cactus was on the sofa or Cactus was on the bed or Cactus was back in the crate along with his shoe or something like that. And it was just really cute as, watching Cactus warm up to him and just come up and start cuddling with him. It was just,
Oh,
I'm seeing more. And that's just 2 of so many men who are creating content about their dogs. And so I think that's sort of like, that long little tale that I just did was to say, we have men who follow us and we appreciate you. Welcome.
absolutely. I will say my husband will hear podcasts when I'm editing, and he's always like, I can't believe men listen to you.
Okay, so here we go. I have 2 additional fan mails, and I think that this is actually just one right now that just they've sent and then they sent it again. And it doesn't tell me a name, it just tells me that this person is from Atlanta, Georgia. And it says, the whole Purina topic is definitely interesting to me. I agree with you, Kimberly. Something is definitely going on, but like you said, we need more solid proof before we can blame Purina directly. Although the 1,200% increase in sick dogs is definitely something to take note of. This is purely speculation, but if something was going on, my guess is they were trying to keep it quiet and handle it as quickly as possible because of the bad exposure they got back during the whole menu food crisis. I don't know if they mean menu food crisis.
Melamine, vitamin D,
Yeah. They probably figured they could not afford a second experience like that one. Just my thoughts, though. And then it goes on to say, and on a completely unrelated note, I've been meaning to send this for months now, and I keep forgetting, LOL. Anyway, referring to the comment y'all read months ago, I forgot what it was about now, but it was about your lone male listener. Turns out there are 2 of us, LOL. Anyway, y'all are definitely one of the highlights of my week. Keep doing what you're doing. So it's Atlanta, Georgia. This
Thank
is
you,
not Brian,
Atlanta.
because I think Brian's in Colorado.
Yeah, yeah. So we have
So
3.
look at that. So I've been holding on to this for a couple weeks, meaning to read it. And so sorry we took so long. We will create a segment if we start getting these on a regular basis so that we can read them, but it's always interesting to hear everyone's perspective. It's
Yeah.
funny because I think that we all kind of feel like, or I think we're all, I would say, maybe not always technically on the same page, but I bet we're in the same chapter when it comes to Purina because clearly something was going
Yeah.
on. We have no idea what was going on. I think, the group that was behind trying to figure out what was going on, they did all their testing. They weren't able to figure out what was going on. But, I will admit, although I'm not a member of that group, I used to peek in and read some of the posts and I had to stop because they were horrifying. So what some of it was these dogs were going through, and whatever it was, whether it be something random or something related to the food, we just don't know. But it sure as heck made me happy that I don't feed the food because, I mean, gosh, the guilt that
Yeah.
you must experience if your dog is so sick. Because it's not like it's a bunch of dogs that have, you know, loose stool and diarrhea and some vomiting.
And they'll
No,
be fine in a couple days, right?
yeah, these were like serious, serious, sick dogs. But I don't know. I mean, it just kind of quietly went away. I have no idea if dogs are, and cats were getting sick as well, but I mostly saw dogs. And so I don't know if they're still getting sick, if somehow, who knows? I mean, because of course, tinfoil hat person here. My thought was that someone figured it out. Because it's like if it was something at a plant that was either making all of these different foods or a vitamin mix that was going to all these different companies. And somehow someone somewhere figured it out and just said, okay, let's throw this away.
Quietly, yeah.
And let's get the new batch in there. And now all of a sudden everything went away. That's my thought. But, that's just me because I tend to not trust anyone and come up with the worst,
Well,
possible.
I mean, I basically have spent my whole career looking at what the horrible things that corporations do to try to hide how they hurt people, so nothing surprises me.
Yeah.
Like, it's what I do for a living, you
I mean,
know?
well, and that's just it is that, it's funny because there was a couple of people who thought that I was kind of like defending Purina because I wouldn't speak out against Purina. And it's like, no, I just don't know. And one thing I really always want to be careful of doing is making a definitive statement when I don't have all the facts. So I needed more facts. But no, there's two things going on. There's the people of the company, which I understand that these companies have dog lovers and stuff, and I'm not blaming them. But what always made sense to me, and it was something that someone, I don't know if you said it or if someone in a group said it or somewhere said it, but it always rang true to me was this is a vitamin mix. Because for it to be impacting so many brands that have nothing to do with each other, and that are all around the world, this is a vitamin mix. And so that's where, technically not Purina's fault if they're buying the vitamin mix from someone. I don't know how it works,
I mean, I would like to
but
think that they would, especially after the vitamin D situation, that they'd be testing these things.
well, you look at Susan Thixton's article and you have how many complaints and they're only following through on 5% with no clear explanation? I mean, at least tell us why you weren't following the other ones. Like, well, we found that several were duplicates, or the person didn't follow up with us. We called, they didn't call us back. Or when we contacted them, it wasn't their dog. They were reporting some other dog.
Right, right, right. Those
If
things
that's
make
what was,
sense, right?
yeah, if that's what was going on, then okay. But I mean, again, tinfoil hat, wouldn't they have said that? Because that would totally get people off their back if they did. So it's like, if I don't know, if this is why I don't want to make products. I actually had someone reach out to me and offer to whitelist a supplement for me. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? The last thing I want is to find out that animals got sick because of something that I put my name on. And if animals were getting sick, even though it's not my fault, I didn't make the product, I still partnered with this company and I still, and I guess maybe it's you would know this more than I do. Are they hiding behind the legalities of it, of like behind closed doors? They're just scrambling to figure out what the hell is going on and getting rid of it to avoid a lawsuit because, what, well, Hills had the vitamin D. Who, uh, the melanin was kind of not melanin.
Yeah, melamine. Yeah, it was
Yeah, that was
everybody.
kind
Yeah,
of everybody.
because they were all getting it from the same source, just like the vitamin D mix.
Yeah. So it's just like I don't know. I don't know the answer. I wish that there was an answer. I'm not surprised that we are sitting here a year later when things were so hot and heavy 1 year ago, and it's crickets
Crickets.
today. And it's just frustrating because for all those people who lost a pet, just the amount of frustration and distrust they must be experiencing towards the pet food industry because of what happened has got to be astronomical.
Which is Susan Thixton's origin story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't know. And now, of course, we're kind of doing it again with the the bird flu, which is turning out, I mean, I'm hearing from so many people that it is not what they're making it out to be.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I
all these cases coming forward, they're not telling us the full story. They're basically telling us a story in a way to blame a raw food brand and to tell people, well, then don't feed raw poultry. But they're not, when then, weeks later, we're finding out a
There was more
completely
to the
different
story.
story. Yeah, that the food wasn't tested, or the food that the pet was eating wasn't tested, or that, the chain of custody is suspect. So we don't know when it was impacted. And the cats were indoor outdoor cats, so we don't know when they were exposed. And again, it's got to be so frustrating, not only for the brands, but for the pet owners where,
And just like, again, the trust and the lack of transparency, and you're concerned because you don't want to make a decision that could harm your pet, but, what's like the agenda or the details behind
yeah.
it. And, it's why, my boss laughs at me because we're always suing different companies and he's finding all of these documents showing what they knew when, and going back 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years.
Mhm.
And, and I'm like, this is why I have trust issues.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like you have to do your own research on everything. And I guess I always look at this podcast, right? Like, we might not have the conclusion for you, but we can at least show you what we're looking at that's helping guide us.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard, for where I sit, I'm in a very, um, like blessed position because, like, for instance, Wild Coast Raw, that's one of I don't feed a whole lot of commercial raw anymore now that my cat has passed on, because my cat ate Green Juju and a couple of other cat freeze-dried brands. But now that it's just my dogs, I make, 90%, 95% of their food I'm making. But I love Wild Coast Raw. They eat their pork and rabbit recipe. And they're also a local company. I know Tyler, who is the founder, and his mom, who is a veterinarian, is the one who formulated all of their recipes. We went to lunch one day years ago when they first started. He sent me a ton of their food, and I love it because other than it being in the shape of a patty, it looks like my food. And it doesn't stink. And one thing I hate about rabbit is rabbit dog food smells awful. Raw rabbit, I mean, not all of it, but some of them, ugh, it just smells awful. I can't stand it. But anyway, he's going through it right now. And I've seen comments on his page where people are calling him out for not being transparent. And it's like one of those where I totally understand where they're coming from, but I also see it from his perspective too, because he's trying to figure and work this out. And I'm just so grateful that I never had desire to start a raw food company because, again, tinfoil hat back on, I can't help but think, and I feel like this argument is so ridiculous, even though I've heard other people confirm that they've heard these statements from Kibble executives. But the whole thing of creating an atmosphere in which we're constantly fighting each other and we're distrusting each other and we're tearing each other down rather than looking at them, and is kind of their MO. They've been doing it for years. And
That's another corporate tactic.
yeah, it seems very, like I'm so paranoid, but I remember Dr. Becker saying that when it was 1 year at Super Zoo, she did one of the courses. She taught one of the courses, workshops, and an executive approached her and they were talking. And in their discussion, he said that it makes them laugh that we think that they're coming after us when we are so terrible to each other and we're constantly trying to tear each other down, that all they have to do is wait and we'll just destroy ourselves. And I mean, I think that there's some help, but I think human nature, plus we live in a really crazy time where everyone is kind of pissed off and angry. So social media is just not a great place to handle a contentious conversation. But it doesn't help to have the articles that come out claiming that there was a recall when there wasn't a recall, not explaining the differences between like a voluntary recall or, just the different things. The fact that they'll say that a company had a recall, but it's of a food that was sold a couple months ago when all the dogs have eaten it. It's all gone. But they worded in a way as if the company was hiding something. But it's like, no, not only is all the food gone, we called out all our customers, it's all gone, but nobody is sick. No dog has gotten sick. So, but no one people only read the headline and the very graphic image. I remember, I don't remember the outlet. Is it PFI? I don't remember which company it was, but they have, the website with the articles. And I remember they had an article talking about Darwin's pet, and the image was recall. Darwin's didn't have a recall. I mean, the whole article was so filled with misinformation. It was a shock. But everyone would reference it. And people would tell me, I can't believe you're feeding Darwin's. And I would ask them, it's like, well, send me something that shows me that I shouldn't. And they would send me this article. And it's like, no, this article doesn't say this has been debunked a million times, but it was and it's like, how can you legally get away with doing that? I feel like if I were to do that, somebody would definitely sue me. I mean, it's just like, I don't understand how they can get away with it. But yeah, distrust is big. Transparency is, the big word of the month, I
Oh,
guess,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I would say
Where
that's the story of the month. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like something that everyone's demanding. It was fun talking to Billy last week and getting his thoughts. Speaking of which, okay, so this is fun. I was speaking to a breeder in Australia, and one thing they said to me, and it's so funny because they said it to me, Johan said it to me, and a third person that I can't remember said it to me, was basically, you have got to stop trying to reason with people who are angry. It's like you keep acting like you can change their mind and like you can just approach them. And it's like, no, the second they start showing anger or just cut them off, block them, make them go away, because it's just not worth it. And I actually, when they first told me that, I actually started trying to defend myself. Like, no, sometimes people are just in a bad place, or sometimes they never really considered this perspective. And if I just share this with them and I can get them, they're like, no. How many people's minds have you changed? And my answer was 2.
Hey, that's better than 0.
In 10 plus years of doing this blog, actually like almost 14 years of doing my blog, 2 people, I've changed 2 minds. Someone who came at me or came at the discussion with a very aggressive, angry stance, and I was able to talk them down and get them to see my perspective. And then they were like, oh, okay. And then everything was good. 2 people. And I have hung on to that for years. And so recently, I blocked somebody who was going from post to post to post, sharing information, basically saying that green juju is not being transparent, that their formulas. I don't know why I can't say the word formalization, and maybe it's because it's not a real word, and maybe I'm just trying to force a word out of my mouth. But saying their formulas were toxic, like specifically the bison formula was very high in copper and very dangerous for dogs, and just basically copying and pasting the same statement over and over and over again. So I just like that spamming. And I heard the breeder from Australia saying, you are not going to be able to reason with them. Because my first reaction
Yeah.
was, text Billy, get the nutritional analysis, confirm that this is not correct, and then bring it up, and then do a whole post explaining that this is what's going on. And for what? Because 99% of the world doesn't care. It would be only for one person who has made it their mission to bring down green
Yeah,
juju.
which sounds like unhinged behavior to me. Like, that
Yes.
does not sound like normal, appropriate, like,
Yeah, well,
well
someone who's going to
thinking.
be reasonable.
Yeah, like,
So but I did text Billy, and I was just like, hey, this is what's going on. And, I don't know if this person's spamming me or if and he was just like, I know exactly who that is.
oh, I'm sure
And he
he's
did.
dealt with them
He
too.
sent me all the information to show, no, they're incorrect. And again, I still had that inkling to just, maybe if I just explain, but I was just like, no, delete, block, block, block. and move on.
I mean, I love that that is where your mind goes. That's like what your inclination is because, I'm just like, no, no, like, you
That's
know,
what I need to be. So, because I got myself in trouble last week because I was trying to understand where someone was coming from and clear it up to make them. So, someone commented on my page that they don't like Rodney and Karen. I should have just deleted the comment because it really had nothing to do with the discussion other than that it was prompted by Rodney and Karen. And I asked them, I liked the comment because I always like comments as I track them. And I asked them, well, can you share examples? They were like, what's the word? They said they produce clickbait and they're fear mongering. And it's like, well, can you have an example of doing that? And someone else joined the conversation was like, well, what about this and this discussion? And it actually was an interesting topic that Rodney brought up of how getting more exercise, you can eliminate, I don't know how many supplements, like 10 supplements that you're giving to your dogs. And I was like, was racking my brain. Joint supplement and maybe an anxiety supplement, but I just couldn't think of what it could be. That being said, but she was like, but the only people who get that information are people who subscribe and pay for it and da 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 da. And so they do this for
the
clickbait.
inside scoop.
Right. And so I responded, to be fair, that was my response. It's like, I do the same thing. It's like this whole discussion is me doing exactly what
Trying to
they're
get
doing
engagement.
because
Yeah.
I'm trying to get engagement. I have the link to my new platform. So I want people to subscribe to it. And I'm not giving people the full story because I want them to go subscribe and read it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what
That's the way it goes.
99% of the internet is. Like,
That's the way it is. And
people
it's
who
like,
have a business or something.
yeah.
And it's
And
why I'm not good at it.
I'm not great at it. I'm trying. But that's what you do. And, when I explained that, you can actually get the information because now we know there's the Mind Jam podcast. That's free. You can't watch it, but you can listen to it. And so you can get exposure to the information. So I get it. And not everyone wants to pay for it. I used to have a Patreon and I also the platform that I'm on now, I have the option to charge a fee for it. But I don't because I just don't want to. I don't really know I feel like there's nothing that I can add that I can monetize. I think everything that I'm adding is there. It adds a level of pressure when you start charging for something, because now you need to start giving people what they're paying
Right.
for, especially in this economy. And one of my goals, as I'm trying to rethink how I want to do everything, is I want to create basically a safe place for people to come and ask questions and not get jumped all over. But also, they don't have to pay to get it. I mean, you can go pay for my book if
But
you
and
want
it
to.
still costs you money,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to pay to have a
Yeah.
website,
I
you have
have
to pay to
overhead,
have emails. Yeah, I mean,
as
we
do
have to pay
Rodney.
money to have a podcast. Like
Mhm.
that's why I'm always like, buy Teef, use code AGM, help us recoup our costs. I gotta pay for the Zoom
Yes.
subscription. I mean,
I mean, yeah, our podcast, we pay a fee for storing all the episodes. Your time in editing them, our time in wrangling guests, and their time coming onto our podcast. And then, just coming up with the conversations. I've started doing what you're doing, where I'm saving things all over the place. But of course, now I don't remember where I save anything. So I really need to get that system down. But it does take, my blog, the hosting of my blog is very expensive. This new platform that I'm doing, it potentially can be another expense. And I'm trying to decide if I want to have that expense. Maybe I'll just keep the subscription low so I don't have a big expense. I don't know. But all of that costs money. And my overhead is nothing like Rodney and Karen, who
right.
have staff who fly around the world interviewing people and, you know, s- basically starting all of these ventures where, like, they're testing food to see if it's nutrient, all of that costs money. And, I don't think it's funny because someone else left a comment. I actually ended up deleting, well, I took down my Facebook page I needed a break. I needed a break from just the drama. But someone commented, like, why is it that people have such a problem with people making money? And I think it's because as a society, we equate making money or charging for something with, you're being a scammer. Because a lot of the stuff that or like things that I could potentially charge for, it's all free information that's out there. I've just pulled it, organized it, applied it to my dogs, and given like a human face to it. But it does save other people time. The only reason why I do it is because I just get a kick out of it. I think it's so much fun learning all this stuff. So I don't mind giving this, but it's just me. This is my hobby.
Right. And I mean, you have a full-time job, you have dogs, you have a partner, you have a home, you know.
Yeah. I'm lucky that this is not my business, whereas this is their business. This is
Yeah.
what they do for a living, and they do it very well. I understand why there can be pushback with their post and stuff, but again, criticism that you give to them for their post, you can apply to most content creators.
Yeah, like most of the internet and
They're
social
pulling from
media.
the same book of how to do this. And so, but that being said, I think everyone has a right to their opinion. You have a right to like and
Sure.
dislike who you
Yeah, I'm
want.
never gonna be like, you have to like that."
Yes, you have to. And that's my whole thing. So I mostly appreciate you taking the time to leave the comment and engaging with me. I wish the person who had taken, I should say, the people who had taken screen captures of the one comment and then the list of people who liked it and highlighted my name to show that I liked it, and then blew up Rodney's messenger to say that I hate him, to the point where he just kept seeing my name come up over and over again, and he thought that something had happened to me, like that I had died or something, and reached out to me, called the wrong phone number because I changed my phone number, so he has me 2 times. But I happened to text him one day because RFK is bringing back incandescent bulbs. And I was just like, oh my God, and sent it in. And I was like, look at you. And he's like, yes. And everyone thought I was crazy. By the way, I thought you were dead. And then it's just like, I wish that they had read the full discussion. I wish that they had just asked me, why did you like this comment? I mean, I get how it looks, but I feel like if you had read the whole discussion, you would have seen that it wasn't about disliking them. It was
Isn't
about,
that I was saying to my husband, he has a lot of, like, drama with his work right now, and, I was just saying, like, 99% of it is, like, miscommunications and misunderstandings.
yeah.
And when people do take the time to dig a little deeper instead of just reacting, you can usually get to the bottom of things. And it's one of the reasons I have been so happy with my work situation the last several years is we got rid of the people that created the drama. And my boss and I are people who communicate well. Coincidentally, we've both been in therapy for like 20 years. So it's like,
So that helps.
yeah, I only want to work with places where everyone's in therapy.
Well, I mean, but you're 100% right. I think that, when I see any type of any conflict that I've been in with people online, it has been about miscommunication, misunderstanding. I mean, remember a few years ago with the whole thing with, I'm going to respond to this anti-Becker video, but everyone thought that I was going to take down Dr. Becker, and it turned into a huge.
No, we were trying to take down the takedown.
Yeah, and it's like, even, and I even spoke to a couple people on the phone, and they were so adamant that I was wrong and I was a terrible person that absolutely nothing I said, I clarified everything. Nothing I said made them change their mind. One person finally ended the call saying, "Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I do understand where you're coming from." And then immediately blocked me afterwards and told everyone that I was harassing Bobby's family, which is really, I mean, I feel like we as a community, because all of our engagement is on social media, it can be hard to figure things out, and we think we know and we just
Yeah.
run with it.
We miss context or nuance or tone of voice, it's like sarcasm gets lost and
Yes, all of that.
things like that, yeah.
That's why, when, full circle, See, when we don't just ramble on, you guys, we actually pull everything together. That's why I could never bring myself to out condemn that list of kibble companies because I didn't have all the information. It looked bad. It didn't look good, but I didn't have all the information. And
And the
so
information we were getting when people actually did do testing didn't show anything.
yeah, it was
And
inconclusive.
yeah.
I mean, it was just like either everything was right or it was inconclusive. And what was astounding, because the amount of money it cost, because this is a thing that surprised me. I thought you got like, a handful of food, you send it off to the lab, they test it, you come back. No, you have to pay for, like, you're going to pay for this set of tests, but there's like a gazillion different types of tests you can pay for. So they make the best guess of what they think could be wrong, pay for those tests. And whatever could be wrong might have been found out if they had just chosen a different set of tests. But this is thousands and thousands of dollars that I believe Dr. Morgan was paying out of pocket.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's just sort of like, eventually you got to stop. Not to mention, with the nutrient testing that people are calling for now, that's the other thing is you can like if I were to take my food and have it nutrient, I've been thinking about this a lot because I just did a meal prep. And I don't mix. I mix pretty well, but if I take a spoonful that has no kelp in it, then it's going to come back as very low in iodine or no iodine. I mean, someone else gave me the example, or maybe it was Billy that gave us the example of no bone. Like
Mm-hmm.
you take a sample
Yeah,
and
Billy
send it
did.
in and there's no bone, but you know that there is bone in this mix. And so there's so many, mishaps that can happen. And I think we're all approaching it because it's like I was actually, to be perfectly honest, I was furious for days about everything that happened. But taking a step back, I can understand where people are coming from or why people behave the way they do. Because again, you think you know what's going on and you react from that.
Yeah, I feel like I got burned early in life, like maybe back as a teenager of, jumping to conclusion. And now it's like, I don't jump to conclusion,
Yeah.
it's like,
I do two things. Either I ask myself, is this my business? Because 9 times out of 10 is none of my business. It has nothing to do with me and I need to stay out of it. So it's like, Kimberly, sit back down. This is not your game. And two, it's just sort of like, are you making this worse? Are you potentially hurting someone? Are you potentially making something worse? And I think that those are the things that sort of help me, kind of curb my tongue.
so I want to talk about the nutritional analysis thing for a minute because I want to,
Mhm.
like, I wish I had like a rewind sound effect of like, you know, So I am in the Inside Scoop, and they have been doing since the beginning of the year. Every year, they do a multi-part food review, and they bring on different people like Susan Thixton and Dr. Recker. I know Connor Brady was on one of them. And they try to come up with a way to help us as pet parents figure out, like, there's all these different freeze-dried foods, there's all these different raw foods, all these different gently cooks. Can we come up with a way to kinda give you, like, a grade?
Mhm.
So you have to kinda come up with what's the criteria going to be that you're looking at, and so Dr. Recker, who is with Animal Diet Formulator, she was going to do this nutrient analysis, and so it was in the context of them trying to provide all of us who pay for Inside Scoop, right, with this analysis information that the original conversation that Dr. Becker and Dr. Recker, I love saying that together, were having about we want brands to be transparent,
Mhm.
because and when I was watching that part of the Inside Scoop video, I understood, like, oh, it's because they wanna be able to calculate this for us, and the people who use Animal Diet Formulator or who have that ability, they wanna have that information. And I guess what the Inside Scoop team does is they have kind of like a secret shopper person who will contact these brands, not say who they're affiliated with, just, "Hey, can we get your information?" And so they were looking at the availability of this information as part of their criteria for how to grade each food and each company. And so I understand, right? Like when you're trying to do something like this. Like, you want to be able to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges and have like some kind of criteria. So anyway, that was like the original context in which I heard this talk. And then I saw that Dr. Becker posted that clip online of her talking about the need for brands to be transparent. And then that went, that blew up and everybody had opinions and now brands are being harassed. And I felt like, I wish that clip had like given more of the context and
Mhm.
nuance to what she wanted to do with the information, with what it was being used for, instead of, like you said, people are just kind of using it as a chance to like slam a company that doesn't
Yeah.
make this readily available, or who wants to like understand, well, what's your context for wanting this because it's proprietary information. And so I feel like some of like that whole context just got lost in all of this too.
I
Of
think
like,
it got lost in the sauce. I mean, she also did a post where she, because someone came, told me, is like, that's not what she said. And I was like, yes, it is. Because I said, she said that if you go and ask them, most would tell you that it's proprietary. And she's like, she never said most. And I was like, well, she did say 90% in this post. It was a typed out post that 90% would say no. Of course, I don't know what that 90% was. Was it all pet food? Was it raw food brands? I mean, I'm thinking it was all pet food because it seemed like she was talking about, from a different conversation, she was talking about when you're working with a client and you need to call a company and get information about copper levels, for example, and they're like hiding behind the proprietary thing. And it's like, I'm a veterinarian. I'm trying to help my patient. I can't believe you're not giving me this information. What I found, I was inspired and decided to see how hard is it to get this information? Because my question was, why do people want it? I was really curious about, so that's why I started a discussion. And before everything went off the rails, it was a very good discussion where people were talking about, this is what I have a dog that has copper storage issues. So I have to be really careful about that. Or I have a dog that, or one person was like, I really don't want to feed my dogs anything with synthetics. And so I'll call just to see, is this really whole foods or is there any synthetics? And so they asked for more details. And there are other health issues that people brought up because my thing was that what is it that you need to know that you can't get from the ingredients panel? Because the one thing that a lot of people kept saying, well, my dog has allergies, ingredients panel, unless they're not being honest about everything that's in the ingredients. But people came up with, just really good information. There were a couple people who said, Zoe's trying to jump. Zoe's trying to jump on the sofa and she's not getting up there very well.
oh,
I don't think she's happy with me because I boosted her on the sofa and now she's just laying there awkwardly. I'm a horrible person. But she's just laying there. She's like, I guess this is where I live now. but so people had very interesting reasons for wanting it. I reached out and called, I called Wild Coast Raw. I called Huntaway because I do feed their venison, or I do right now. I probably won't again because I can't afford it. But their venison. Who else did I reach out to? Almost Pride, actually. I feel like they reached out to me. I don't know if I reached out to them, or I think I did reach out to them, Almost Pride, because I don't feed their food, but I feed their seafood blends. And I feel like there were two others, but I can't remember who they were that I reached out to. Everyone, Dr. Harvey's. I reached out to Dr. Harvey's. No one had a problem giving me the information. They wanted to know why I needed it. And not like, what do you want it for? It was mostly like, is there something that you're looking for? Like, can we help you with something with your dog that you're looking for?
right.
We can help. We don't want to just give you a piece of paper and you don't know how to,
What to do with the
analyze it.
information, right?
Exactly. And also, in most cases, except for, the very small companies, I was talking to a customer service rep. And actually, I said most cases, only in two cases. I was talking to a customer service rep. So they had to go to someone else to get permission to release this information and explain what I was looking for and stuff so they can present it to me in a way that was going to be helpful and not they weren't doing anything nefarious. And in one case, the person was talking to someone, I believe in America, that was talking to someone in Australia or New Zealand. So there's a time zone thing. So I wasn't going to get a response back right away because they had to leave a message for them, wait for them to leave them, and it was going to go back and forth. So, but everyone was still willing to help. My concern is, because one person said they were surprised that they just didn't get it back. And I don't know, I saw this, it wasn't in my discussion, it was just somewhere random where I saw someone say that they contacted, no one got back to them. And it's just sort of like, I understand how it can be frustrating for someone not to just acknowledge that, hey, we got this request. Let me talk to my team and get together something so we can send it to you. I think that goes a long way. But there's also this period of time of, when did you leave the message? When did they get the message? And who do they have to get permission from to share the message? And people, I think, are understandably a little nervous, especially when someone like me is like, hey, let me have your nutritionist. And I was like, Kimberly, what you doing with it? But in my thing, I was just basically, I've never seen one before. And when I looked at them, I realized I have seen them because Darwin's has them. But I was like, I wanted to see what exactly do they look like? What do they, is it something like the average dog owner can actually look at and know what to do with? Everyone's looks different, and no, you're not going to know what to do with it. But I think if you're working with a nutritionist or a veterinarian, they will. So I think, I think it's a good idea.
So I definitely know if there's certain kidney issues in which some of these ratios become important from the nutritional analysis. And, something else that was being talked about in the whole inside scoop thing related to this was about nutrient deficiencies if you are feeding less than the recommended amount for your dog's weight. And this was coming up in the context of like, so many dogs are overweight, and veterinarians will be like, oh, just feed like 75% of what you're feeding now. And so when people start cutting back the amount of the food that they're giving their dog, is that going to cause nutrient deficiencies? And so that was, again, like kind of one of the topics and one of the ways that Dr. Recker was kind of coming up with like her evaluation of the different foods that were being reviewed in the inside scoop thing. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And if you look at it like from a kibble fed dog, I feel like you already have these dogs that are overweight, and then they're going to be nutrient deficient on top of it, which is going to cause more health issues.
Yeah.
Like just kind of the conventional veterinary approach right now. I'll be interested to learn more about that topic. I'll just put it like that. Because I thought she was a little harsh on some of the brands. And I'm interested to see kind of how all that plays out.
Yeah. I think it might start some conversations too when people start talking to each other. It'll be interesting to see. I know that there is a raw food organization, like trade organization. And I think that this is something that it would be nice to see this being taken on by that trade organization. Because my thought was that there's no real easy answer about how to handle this. But I feel like in a perfect world, from my perspective, there would be a website that would have the information on there, where you can type in a brand name, it'll come up with the, nutritional analysis, the date that this was done, the recipe that it is, with the understanding that just because a brand isn't on here doesn't mean that they're not being transparent. They just opted out. I mean, just like brands who aren't on the list, Susan Thixton's list, some of them opt out because, they have to produce so much information for her to review. Maybe, I've heard from one person who said she didn't think she was going to be able to meet all the recommendations because she was short-staffed and she wasn't sure when, but she was able to pull it all together and get it turned in. But it made me think about, oh yeah, there's so many non-nefarious reasons why something someone isn't doing what we think they should be doing, that I wish that there was a way for us to get some of the information or as much information as possible without harming a brand or harming an animal.
And the other thing I was just thinking about the whole inside scoop food review thing. So they were promoting it, like Rodney was promoting, oh, we have this upcoming episode where we're doing this review, and these are the brands that we're going to be looking at. And again, like, no reading comprehension on social media, because people would just look at like this picture of all the brands and be like, how come you don't have this brand on here? They're really good. And it's like, no, this isn't a matter. These are not brands that are being ranked as like the best. These are just the ones that we're looking at. And they do this every year. So they have kind of like a database or whatever of like,
Mhm.
oh, why aren't you looking at this one? Well, because we looked at it last month, or, this one, because you're naming a freeze-dried company and this episode's about raw, and, and it was like the freeze-dried one was 2 weeks ago. Like, it was just one of those things where, sometimes I'm just like, "Don't look at the comments, don't look at the comments." Like,
Yeah, I truly think that we have entered an era. I feel like it started, well, for me, I started noticing it in what, maybe 2016,
that
where
sounds
people
like about
just,
the right time.
yeah, sounds familiar, where people just started basically saying whatever the heck they want. I mean, people were already doing this, but it was like en masse where like I was taking social media breaks because it was getting to be ridiculous. I just couldn't handle all the comments. Or, like I remember one day I was posting positive memes because I was like, oh, this is funny, or this is cute, or oh, this is sweet. And someone sent me an email telling me, how dare you post those? And they were just furious with me. And it's just like, and this is on my personal page. So it was like, what's happening? But, I feel like it started around there where I really started noticing, but it's reached a like crazy level of where people join a conversation ready to be mad. I mean, so, I mean, you know, I don't understand it. I don't understand if it's just people are being protective, if people are just pissed off all the time, or if it's just, I don't know what it is, but it's one of those where, which is why I shut my Facebook page down. I need a break. I mean, it's too much, but it's just like I saw one of the images that Rodney had, and one of the comments said, because you're looking at it, I happened to see one of the comments, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but the person was mad about the something about the image. They were just upset, and I was just like, why? I mean, it's just like it's
Well,
so easy to keep scrolling. I mean, it takes so much time, especially if you're doing it from your phone. It takes so much
oh my
time
God, I
to
hate typing
write
on
a
my phone.
detailed comment. I would just rather just keep scrolling. And if it becomes too much for me, if I'm like at a point where I cannot handle someone's content, I will just hide them. Tell them that I can, and there's, if I really want to make sure Facebook understands that I don't want to see this anymore, I go through the little steps and just go, I don't want to see this anymore.
Yep.
And Facebook's like, okay, we won't show it to you anymore. It's like, thank you.
I know my father will be like, "Oh, did you see what such and such posted?" And I'm like, "Nope," because I have
Nope.
them hidden. And I will put my tinfoil cynical hat on and say, I think social media's agenda is to keep us pissed off.
Well, that's just it. Is like we're nice and distracted. Our attention span is nil. I mean, if we end up, in a war of the world situation, they you can just come and take the planet.
I know.
Because we're all into our phones, arguing with a stranger on the opposite side of the world about something neither one of us know
We're not
anything.
even going to see the big thing
Yes.
coming down from the sky because we're all just looking at our phone all the time.
Yeah. We don't know what's going on. I mean, so I think it's one of those where I love the fact that people want to be so much more educated about what they're feeding their dogs. I'm excited that my mom has a puppy and she's calling me and asking me questions. And I mean, she's not feeding her puppy what I would feed my puppy, but the first thing she said is, I am not cooking and I am not feeding raw food. And I was like, that's fine. Do you have a problem with adding some cooked food to the kibble? No. And so that's what she does. The puppy does not like scrambled eggs.
Oh,
But the puppy does like meat. So she puts that in there and, oh, look at who's just sleeping. Yeah.
belly up in the air, legs akimbo.
Yeah, Zoe is still in the position that I boosted her on the sofa, but now she's asleep. So I guess she's okay. She was not happy with me. She made a noise when I did it. She was like, "This is wrong. I'm fine. I can do it." And she's 11 and, almost 11 and a half. And actually she'll be 11 and a half soon, next month. But she's, you know, starting to, not jump on the sofa as gracefully as she normally does. And I think it's because not because she can't, but I feel like she jumps on it from the wrong, like she's too close.
Mm.
And so she jumps on it and she just like, oh, nope, just the top of me is on here. That's not it. And then she continues trying to climb on the bed from that position rather than getting
Yes.
down and starting over again. And so it's adorable and sweet. And so,
So later this week, the end of this week, will be 9 years since we adopted Nino. So that means he's a minimum of 11. Uh, they thought he was like 2 or 3 when we adopted him. So he's, I say like 11 or 12 with him these days. And yeah, he needs a running start to jump up on the bed these days. And he very rarely dumps it. But he did have an episode where I guess Tim's legs were in the way or something as Tim was asleep and didn't realize. And then he kind of had the, uh-oh, my front legs are on the bed, but I don't know what happened here. And he gets like very upset. And he's such a like anxious guy that like it's very upsetting for him when like something does not go according to plan. I have to just chuckle with him.
yeah.
Yeah, our poor Nino guy, he's been having a flare up of his stomach issues again, and so he can only get small meals right now. So he gets like 2 breakfasts and 2 dinners right now, and everything's got to be like timed appropriately. And he's had some middle of the night episodes where he's not feeling well, and that means I lose sleep. And
Yeah.
so he's stable now. We had like a scary few days where I was debating. I mean, the good news was he kept pooping okay. So
Mhm.
even though he was vomiting a lot, like he was like, I'm like, okay, he's still pooping. He still has an appetite,
Mhm.
so we weren't like rushed to the emergency vet, but it's concerning, when they aren't keeping
Yeah.
stuff down for a period of time, but he's stable and we're figuring it out with our vet. And it's it's like every time it's always like one step forward, 2 steps backward.
Yeah. It's rough, especially because they can't tell you what's going on. It's something new. So you guys are just like the guinea pigs of this lovely illness that he's going through. The poor thing.
Yeah, they thought it was like gallstone related at one point. I mean, he's been on such a low fat diet that I'm like, it can't possibly be that. So I don't know. He has acupuncture coming up, and we did get him on some herbs from our vet, and so he that definitely helped improve and stabilize him. But the one time I did try to start giving him like his regular meals again, he threw that all back up. So I'm like, okay. We'll just keep doing the smaller meals, dude. We'll
Yeah.
get you under control. So I've told you we're going on like a big family vacation in a
Yeah.
few months over the summer, and so we've never been away for this long before, and we're having a new pet sitter come and stay at our house. So she came over for like the meet and greet recently, and we're gonna do some nights where like I guess Tim and I'll go out to dinner and then she can come and give them dinner and you start like
Mhm.
getting in the routine and stuff.
Right.
And so now, I'm like, how high maintenance are we? It's like, look, he has to get first dinner and then second dinner. And then we
Well,
have our whole like gate and rotate system and.
I think that a lot of pet sitters are probably used to the neuroses of our dogs and ourselves. I think, because I am really weird about my dogs. And thankfully, at this point, I don't have any dogs with health issues. My last one was Rodrigo. And Rodrigo, because of his EPI, he had to have certain supplements that had to be done in his food, and his food had to sit for 20 minutes, and, all these little things that had to be done for him. And Sydney would get hunger pukes, and so there's a way to feed her. This is weird, and I haven't told you about this. Bella, she okay, so I fast my dogs. I do a full fast every Thursday because I go into the office on Thursday. So Wednesday night, they get a heavier meal, and they don't eat again until about 2 to 3 on Thursday. So to me, it's like about a 20 to 24 hour fast, depending upon when they ate last on Wednesday. And my dogs have never had an issue. The only dog that I could not do that with was Rodrigo. Rodrigo had to have, I mean, sometimes he can do it, but a lot of times I would just give him raw goat's milk, and which meant I gave everybody raw goat's milk. But with these guys, I can do that. They have no problems. However, on Thursdays, Johann is home. So if I'm not here and Johann is here, there's something about that freaks Bella out. She's not afraid of Johann, but he says that she literally shakes. Like, and I haven't seen her be shaky and scared in forever. But he said she's shaky. He's like, she shakes so hard that he's afraid that she's like, it's like she's having a seizure. She's shaking so hard.
Oh,
Like she's terrified. And then she gets herself so worked up that then she starts vomiting.
oh my
So he's
gosh.
like, can you start feeding her? So now on Thursdays, I have to, if if I'm not going to be here, so for instance, this Thursday, I will be home so I can do my normal fasting. But if I'm not going to be here, and he's going to be here, I have to feed them or else she'll work herself up into it because it's like, this is not right. She comes in the kitchen. You're not supposed to be here. Where is my mom? I mean, what's going on? And she'll go up to him and like, let him pet her and she'll do all of that. But just she's all a nervous wreck. And he's like, and I'm talking to her super gentle and stuff. And I was just like, it's not you, it's the situation. She doesn't, because she's also the type of dog where if I'm letting her in the house, I can't stand in the doorway. Like I can stand in the doorway and Zoe will walk around me, Apollo will walk around me, Bella will stay there until I move so she can see that she can walk in. But if there's something like blocking, like I'm sitting at a dining room table, if I pulled out one of the chairs and she's coming through a door and that chair is blocking her view, she won't come in the house. So she needs a clear view. And
Wow.
it's so you're not the only one.
So, I had a very busy weekend last weekend, and on
Yes, you did. Tell me more.
Friday night I went to a comedy show with a friend of mine. So Tim was in charge of dinners, and of course I had written everything out, but everybody was still just very out of sorts. And it was just funny. Like Tim was like, "Could you feel the collective sigh of relief when you got home?" Because everybody just likes the pack being together, and I'm supposed to be in the house doing my thing, and and then Saturday, Nessie and I did another training class. So she did a lost object retrieval class. So, she's been doing her scent work with like the odors that they use, like the anise and birch and stuff. But now she is learning to search objects. So that was fun. So we started with like dirty sock. We had to bring like laundry, because it smelled like us to the class, and then like your keys or things like that. So that's been kind of fun to work with her on. And
How'd she
then
do?
oh, she did great.
That's so good.
I always had to laugh. So in the lobby of the training facility, they have a couple shelves where she sells like snuffle mats and blankets and like collars and these like bows that you put on the collars and stuff. And so they're on these shelves. So Nessie's favorite thing in the world is to jump up on things, and like how she's always jumping up on my lap and like looking around. So Nessie was like knocking over everything in the storeroom and studio. And she's like, "Is anything up here?" And like this whole line of these snuffle mats goes like flying off the back of the shelf. And I'm like, "Oh no." And I'm like trying to pick everything up. And so there's like a funny picture that she shared where, Nessie's like knocking stuff over, like, "Anything up here?" Like, and I just
That
have to
makes me
laugh.
feel so good.
And,
'Cause that's
uh,
Apollo.
and then on Sunday, I went to see Jane Goodall. She was speaking.
Oh, yes. How was that?
Oh, she's amazing. I mean, just how amazing is she? And of course, she's known so much for her work with chimpanzees and in Africa, but
Mhm.
she always says, this is actually the second time I've gotten to see her, that her love of animals started with their family dog, and it was seeing the personality traits that her dog had that it was always obvious to her that other animals had a personality also, even at a time when the scientific community didn't validate that, you know.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was in 1960 that she made like the big discovery about chimpanzees using tools. And so that basically meant at that point in time, science considered man to be like the tool workers. Like
Yeah.
that was like, so it's like we either have to change our definition of humanity or consider that chimps are now human. And I mean, it's like this
Mhm.
huge discovery, right? And then you think about like she's a single woman in a jungle in Africa completely by herself, like for months, observing these animals, you know, and it's like there's no phones, there's no internet. It just is mind boggling to me. And I just always love groundbreaking women. And so, like, it's just very emotional, like getting to hear her speak.
I bet. That is so cool. That is so cool. Ah, Jane Goodall. I think she's going to live forever.
Yeah, she'll be 91 in a couple weeks, she said. And I'm just like, God damn, I hope when I'm 91 that I am still like, you know, living my passion in whatever
Yeah.
form
Can you
that is.
imagine? I mean, that's just so, it's so just unbelievably just admirable. I love it.
I mean, my grandmother's 100, but she hasn't really left the house since the 1990s, you know? Like,
So, oh, and so peptides. Peptides is a big topic.
yes.
I'm sure there's probably multiple, but I just know of one at the moment, an MLM company. I don't know the name of it because I think it's brand new. I was watching a video about it. That's, talking about peptides. And it's like, of course there is. And it's so scary to me because these MLM companies are pretty brilliant at playing on our distrust of the government, of the pharmaceutical industry, of the food industry and telling us, we have the natural thing that we were meant to be doing. And that's why we have the issues that we have is because we stopped doing this. But, if these corporations hadn't gotten involved and hid this information from us and poisoned us all these years, we'd be healthy. Because to be honest, I used to fall for that crap all the time. It's just like, you're right. They do want us to be sick all the time. But I can never be a good MLM rep because I'm not a salesperson. I don't like selling to people and I can't explain to someone why you should buy this product over this product over this product. But I just thought it was interesting because I know that peptides is a big topic for you. But yeah, it's like pretty soon you're going to be getting private messages going, "Hey, friend, I got a really cool opportunity for you."
Talked to you since the 10th grade, yeah.
I know. It's
Uh,
like
so, you seen anything good on TV lately?
Oh my gosh, yes. First of all, I am so behind on TV. There's so many really cool things coming out that I want to watch, but I just haven't had time to watch it. But I did this past weekend because I basically just took a break from everything and just sat one day and I watched a series and I watched a movie. So the series is on Netflix. They're both on Netflix. The series is on Netflix. It's called Adolescence. And I don't know if it's UK or if it's Scotland, because I feel like people have mentioned both, like the accents, because there are some accents where you're like, wait, what did you say? And because it's a mixture of because I did a lot of Googling of slang, like, what is that? Like, I kind of can tell that it's not good from the tone and, and the context, but I still don't know what it means. But it's 4 episodes. It is probably one of the best series I've seen in forever.
I keep hearing about it, but it looks like kinda dark and, like
It is. It's dark, but it's so good. The kid, the kid in this thing is just like I'm sitting here watching this. I rewound scenes to watch it because I was just like, this kid was. There was one episode, I think it was because there's 4 episodes. I think it was episode 3 where the kid is talking to a psychologist and his mood switches from different things, like from being a kid who wants approval to being an angry, sullen teenager. I mean, he was like all over the place. And I was there. I mean, it was phenomenal. Just I thought it was a really interesting take on society and what our kids are going through, what they're experiencing because of social media. Because of this episode, every time I see an interview or a panel discussion talking about the show, I'm like, I'm watching that because it is so good. So there is that. Then I watch Craven the Hunter. It is a Marvel movie, and I am a Marvel gal through and through. It is horrible. And actually, is it a Marvel movie? Because, I mean, it's a Marvel character, but I think it's Sony did a few Spider-Man universe movies. So they did like the Venom movies, they did Morbius, which, oh my gosh, I love vampires. And you're telling me that you're combining vampires with Marvel and you can't do it right? That was the worst, just the worst. I mean, Madam Web was the absolute worst, but Morbius was bad. And it should not have been bad. It was one of those where were like all the writers, did they all just say no? And so your teenage son did this,
Oh my
or did
gosh.
you do it via chat GPT? I mean, what's going on? Same thing with Madam Web. Like, excuse me? But then there's what was the other one? Okay, so Craven the Hunter. This is one of those things where my friend Greg, who does not listen to this podcast, but if he did, shout out. He and I and his wife, who is my good friend Jennifer, the three of us went and saw Beekeeper together. After seeing that movie, Greg vowed that he would never go to a theater with me ever again because we were at the theater on a weekday during the day. The only other people who were in the theater were retired people. It's a movie where someone is just killing people in creative ways. And I laughed ridiculously loudly through the entire movie. And he was like, everyone is terrified right now because they think you're this psychopath in here. And so at home watching Craven the Hunter, I had a similar reaction where I was just laughing through the entire movie. But it was partly because the dialogue was so bad. It was so bad. But I'm still telling people to watch the movie because the main character, I don't know the actor's name, but he was so beautiful. He's so gorgeous. And so it's like, and it was kind of a fun movie. And Russell Crowe is in it. And I just think Russell Crowe is magical. I mean, he's such a good actor, even though he can be in movies where everything else about the movie is wrong, but he is right. And so he was really good. So that was it. That's all I've got. You?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So Tim and I are thrilled that Righteous Gemstones is back because that's one of our favorites. So I have been wanting to watch White Lotus ever since it came out. Do you watch that? So, funny story. So, okay, I could never get Tim into it, and there are tons of shows that I watch just by myself, but I just knew that he would really like this one. So, the third season just started,
Yes, that's what I'm watching.
and the actor Walton Goggins is in it. And he has been like Tim loves this guy. Like he was in The Shield, he was in Justified,
I think I
he's
know
in
you.
Righteous Gemstones. He's Baby Billy in Righteous Gemstones. He had an amazing character that he played in Sons of Anarchy. Tim loves this guy. So that guy is in White Lotus. So I'm like, we gotta watch this show, because your dude's in it. So we're starting with season 3. So we have never seen seasons 1 and 2, but it seemed like each season's kind of its own
They're
thing.
kind of there is one thing that has carried forward, but
Yeah.
it's so minute it doesn't mean anything. It's just one of those where it's like, haha, for people who watch.
So yeah, so I have gotten him into White Lotus because of that. And so he's all hooked, like he's all sucked in and he likes it. And so we're gonna go back and watch 1 and 2 when we're done.
I think one was the best.
Oh,
One,
okay.
yeah, one, I mean, two was really good too, but one was the best. There were moments in one where it's like a scene will happen that is both tremendously hilarious, but totally cringe. And I don't know what to do with my body in those
I mean, I
situations.
feel a little bit that way even with what season
Yes.
3 is, especially like with the women that are kind of like frenemies. And Tim's just like, I can't believe these women. Like, and
The
I was
way
like,
they talk about each
I'm like,
other.
dude, it's so accurate. Like, it's so
I
accurate.
know. It's so bad. I think I'm 2 episodes behind because I try to save it up so I can just sit and watch them. So I need to, that's my plan for tonight is to catch up. Okay, so what's your second one?
So those are the two that Tim and I are watching together. Then the ones I
Oh,
watched,
The Righteous Gemstones. Okay.
yeah, and then I binged through this show called Running Point on Netflix. It's the one with Kate
Oh,
Hudson.
yeah. Is it good? I look at it, but I don't know.
It's cute. Like, I don't care anything about basketball. And luckily, basketball is not like a huge part of the show itself, you know what I mean? It's just that it has to do. So I mean, it has great actors in it, and like I get where they're going with it. So yeah, like it's a cute show. Like I kind of blew through it all like over the weekend. I watched like a couple episodes each night, and it was good. Like it was, it
Yeah.
is not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, but like it was a cute, good show.
What's funny that when you said cute, I was watching something on YouTube where they were going over the shows, and that was their exact description of this show. They're like, "No, it's cute," and
Yeah.
they could not get away from that word. So I was just like, "Well, I don't know what you mean."
Like, it's entertaining, like it is not like gonna win any like, awards anywhere, but like it's a cute show. Like I like it. And the other thing I am totally obsessed with is this show. I think it's also on Netflix called The Gentleman.
Yes,
Have you seen that?
is that the one where he inherits a property?
Yes.
Okay, I want to watch it, but I wasn't sure. I don't know what it is.
So I thought it was gonna be kind of like haha funny. And there are funny moments of it, but it's much more, like, intense than I was expecting, and it's, directed or produced by Guy Ritchie, and so if
Yeah.
you ever saw he had a couple movies that came out probably, like, late '90s, early 2000s called, like, Lock, Stock, and Two
Yep.
Smoking Barrels, and then the other one was Snatch. Like, this
Mhm.
show is, like, definitely in the vein of those, and it almost has, like it kinda reminds me a little bit of, like, an Ocean's 11, but, like, with more, violence in some cases. But it's like and I don't like, I have lost when I was younger, I used to watch a ton of violent stuff, and I didn't care, and I would laugh, and I have totally lost my, like, appetite for that kind of thing, and now, like, I can't even do it. But, like, this is the kind of violence that it's like a Pulp Fiction-y kind of thing,
Yeah.
like, violence. Like, I'm okay with that, and it wasn't excessive, and it wasn't, like it was just enough to make the point, and then they move on, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And,
I'll put it on
so
my list.
I'm obsessed with the characters. They're coming out with the 2nd season. Like, there's
Okay.
kind of, like, this twist to it at the end. Like, oh my gosh, I was so completely obsessed with it.
It's just so hard to get involved with Netflix series because if I love it and they cancel it, then
You're
I'm just
heartbroken, yeah. So I had already saw that they were making a 2nd season of this before I watched the first one,
yeah. See,
and I had been
here's
meaning to watch it for a while, and I just finally I wanted to get Tim to watch it, and he does not generally like things with British accents, and I and so he wouldn't watch it. I
love
was like,
them.
"Oh my gosh, you would have loved this. It's so
Oh my
good."
god, I love them. They sound so smart.
I do too. And
I just
people
love them. There's just something about a British I mean, I follow this woman on YouTube. She shares content about, Instagram tips and stuff. She's in the UK, and I just feel like she knows. She knows it all. And it's because of that damn accent. It's just like, to me, cooking. Like, if a cooking show has someone with either I don't know why, but a New York accent or a Southern accent, I'm listening because for some reason, that's where I think all the good food is, even though there's plenty of good food here. And so, you know.
Tim is, like, still salty about, like, the Revolutionary War, and he's like, "I'm not listening to the lobsterbacks. I'm not gonna bow to the queen." I'm like, "Nobody's asking you to, dude. Just watch the show."
So, yeah, and because there's a show on Netflix, but they canceled it, but I'm still gonna watch it because I love Greek god type stuff, and it's with Jeff Goldblum, who
Yes, I remember seeing that advertised.
yeah, I love Jeff Goldblum because he just plays Jeff Goldblum in everything that he does, but it works. Kind of like how Ryan Reynolds is just Ryan Reynolds everywhere, just different levels of Ryan Reynolds. So, yeah. Yay, I'm excited. I have a couple things to watch. Yeah.
Obsessed, completely obsessed with The Gentleman.
Okay, good. If you're obsessed with it, then I know I'll at least like it. And there's something on Apple TV called The Gorge, and I want to sit and watch that.
Tim is watching Severance, and I have seen some of it while it's been on. I think it's a really awesome concept, but like I said, I've just kind of lost my taste for some of that kind of stuff these days,
Yeah.
the darker stuff. And it kind of reminds, like, he was obsessed with that show Black Mirror, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's kind of like, in that kind of
Like
vein.
Black Mirror for a second, but sometimes it kind of got to me.
Yeah, yeah, like I can't with that anymore. Like that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, but watch I need to watch the Kate Hudson show. You know what I mean? Like I just need something cute.
That's like I'll wait for a day when I just need something light and bright.
Yeah, like
And
I got enough. There's enough problems in the world. I just want to watch something cute.
I don't need to be entertained by them. Cool. All right. Well, there you go.
All right, we have some good guests coming up,
I
people.
know. Dr. Recker is coming.
Yes.
I tried to steal her from Dr. Becker when we were at Feed Reel, but they would not part. They are just so lovey-dovey. They're just like the
I
best
mean,
of.
their names are Becker and Wrecker.
I know. I'm not convinced that I think one of them changed their name to rhyme with the other. But I just love the story of how they met, and I just love it. I love that they, are good friends, and that's her profile picked as her and her friend, and they are just so much fun.
And I
And so,
think Dr. Wrecker is Steve Brown's neighbor.
wow.
Like I listened to a podcast interview with her, and like she just like her family moved and like just randomly ended up moving next to Steve Brown, and then that's how a lot of all this came about.
Oh, how crazy.
So we had
What
to
a
ask her about that.
girl. Wouldn't that be cool?
I know, right?
My neighbor or someone like Steve. I would be over there, like with cookies. Just see your homies. You everything okay? Do you want to talk about dog food?
Meanwhile, I get the people that let their German shepherds out to bark incessantly at 4:30 in the morning.
Well, I actually just don't have neighbors because I'm, antisocial and want to live in places where I could see my neighbors so I can politely wave, but I don't have to actually engage with them if I don't want to. It was the
You're doing it
hardest.
right.
My neighbor, they came over, invited us over to a party, and it was just like, oh my God, really? Do we have to go? But I went and I had a nice time. They were really wonderful people. And plus, Apollo keeps running over. He hasn't run over there in a while, but kept running over there because he was like, I live here now. Because the neighbors beforehand, they loved Apollo. So if they were outside, he was gone. And I just gave up and was just like, fine, you can have him for the day. But, all right.
We got good stuff coming, everybody.
Yes, we do. I know. And National Raw Feeding Week is coming up. So talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening.
Bye.